Welcome once again to Maths with Esomnofu. In this tutorial, we are going to propose a solution to this Maths Olympiad problem. If today is your first time of seeing this video, you may consider to like and subscribe so that you get notified whenever I drop a new video. So for us to solve m power 2 over 3 plus m power 1 over 3 is equals to 1. First thing we have to do first is just to what? Is just to simplify the power of the first term. From indices, you know that a to the power of m n is the same thing. Now you can still write it as a to the power of m into power n. Nothing changed. And again, when you have a to the power of m over n, you can still write it as a to the power of 1 over n raised to power m, and nothing changed. Knowing this rule, we are going to apply it in the first term. So I can now write this to be m raised to power 1 over 3, then all squared, plus m raised to power 1 over 3 is equal to 1. Okay? If you agree with me on this, you can now see that this is clearly looking like a quadratic equation. So I can redefine, I can say let m power 1 over 3 be equal to p, for instance, so that I can make this to decongest a bit. So I can write it as p squared, since m power 1 over 3 is now p, then plus p, because this is also m power 1 over 3, then is equal to 1. This is clearly a quadratic equation. If you look vividly well, you can now see that p squared plus p minus 1 is equals to 0. I just subtracted 1 from both sides. So if you understand up to this extent, you can now see one clear thing, that this is a quadratic equation. So we need to solve for the value of p. To solve for the value of p is very simple. We check factorization. Is there any number you can multiply to get minus 1? But if you add them up, you get 1. No. So this particular problem, we use general quadratic equation to solve. And in general quadratic equation, it says that x is equals to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Please consider liking, commenting, or sharing, okay? Then, on knowing this, a is the coefficient of p squared. A is the coefficient of p squared, which is 1. B is the coefficient of p, which is also 1. And c is the constant, minus 1. So, on knowing this, you are going to plug it in here to find the value of p. So we now see that p is now equal to minus 1, because b is 1, plus or minus the square root of minus 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared 1 squared minus 4 times our a is 1, our c is minus 1, then all being divided by 2 times 1. Good. On knowing this, you see that p is equal to minus 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared is 1, then minus 4 times 1 is minus 4, minus 4 times minus 1 is plus 4, then divided by 2. And this is the same thing as minus 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 4 is 5. You have it as 5 divided by 2. Okay, that's the value for p. So you see that p now can now be, for the positive value, minus 1 plus for the positive value plus root 5 over 2, or you say that p is equal to minus 1 minus 5 over 2. Okay, and that's the only possible values of what? P. But in our question, the goal of the question is to find m. And we have defined m at this point to be in terms of what? P. So we say that for the first condition, we look at case 1. In case 1, we can now see that m power 1 over 3 is now equal to, for the first solution, which is minus 1 plus root 5 divided by 2. Okay, so let's look at what m will look at in that particular problem. So for us to find m, we have to cube both sides, raise both sides to the power of 3. So that if you raise both sides to the power of 3, this will now cancel out. You see that m is equals to minus 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2 raised to power 3. So the next thing we have to do is to simplify this. Remember, since we have the fact that when we have a over b all raised to power n, we can still write it as a to the power of n over b to the power of n. So we can write it that m is equals to minus 1 plus root 5 raised to power 3 divided by 8, because 2 power 3 is 8. So that we can simply use binomial theory to just simplify the numerators. In that case, you see that m, for us to simplify the numerators, let's take it separately. Minus 1 plus root 5 raised to power 3. How does it look like? We make use of binomial or Pascal's triangle. For the power of 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, add this to 3, 3, 1, and this suggests for the power. And in binomial expansion, once the first term is increasing, the other term is decreasing. Okay? Once the first term is decreasing, the other term is increasing. So use the binomial or Pascal's triangle to do this. Once the first term is reducing in powers of 3, the other term will be increasing up to the power of 3. So we have minus 1 raised to power 3. The coefficient here is 1. So you just basically 1 times minus 1 raised to power 3. Then root 5 raised to power 0 plus the next term here is 3. We have it as 3 into minus 1 raised to power. It will reduce to 2. Then we have root 5. Then this is done. Then plus the next term here is 3. You have it as 3 into minus 1 raised to power 1. Then root 5 raised to power 2. Okay, it increased to 1. Then plus the last term here is 1. 1 into minus 1 raised to power 0. Then root 5 raised to power 3. Okay, on expansion, you see 1 times minus 1 raised to power 3 will be minus 1. Then because this raised to power 0 is 1. Then we have plus 3. Then minus 1 raised to power 2, it turns to 1 times 1. Then root 5. Then we go to the next one, plus minus 1 raised to power 1 is minus 1. So we have minus 1. Then root 5 raised to power 2, it will now cancel out. We have it as what? Root times root 5. This is done. Then plus the last term, 1 into minus 1 power 0 is 1. Then we have it as root 5 raised to power 3. Okay? On this, you can now see that I'm having one thing. This cancels out to be 5. This cancels out to be 5. Now you can now see I'm having minus 1 plus 3 times root 5 is 3 root 5. Then plus 3 times, we now have 3 times minus 1 times 5 is minus 15. Then plus, you can now see minus 1 times this will now reduce to 5 root 5, 5 root 5. Okay, on getting here, minus 1 minus 15 is minus 16. Then plus 3 root 5 and 5 root 5 will give you what? 8 root 5. Okay, and this is 8 root 5. On getting this, we've simplified this. But remember, the actual value for m is that m is equals to m is equals to -1 plus root 5 over 8 over 2 power 3. Okay, on getting this, and this is our numerator, so we have it as -16 plus 8 root 5 divided by 2 power 3 is 8. We can reduce this to its lowest term, which will give us that m. Our m is now equal to 8 is 1, 8 to give -2, 8 to give 1. So we have it as -2 plus root 5. And that's the value for the first value for m. Then for the second value for m is still the same thing. The only difference there is that m will be -2. We change the sign to be minus root 5. And that's the required solution for m. This is value for m1 and m2. If you found the video interesting, please like, comment, and share for more tips like this. Goodbye.